order the January 13th, 2026 special closed session of the City Council of the City of Commerce. Will the Deputy City Clerk please call roll?
Councilmember Altamirano,
Here.
Councilmember Argumedo,
Here.
Councilmember Rebollo,
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Garcia,
Here.
and Mayor Lainez.
Here. Okay, we are all here. We have quorum. We'll now move on to public comment on closed session items. Members of the public wishing to address the City Council and successor agency on any item on the closed session agenda may do so at this time. Deputy City Clerk, do we have any speakers?
No.
Okay. All right, closing public comment. And at this time, we'll go ahead and recess to closed session. Deputy City Clerk, please recess us and read out the item.
Item number 1, conference with legal counsel on one anticipated potential legal litigation case.
Okay. And we will recess to closed session. Thank you. Council of the City of Commerce, Joint Powers Financing Authority, and the governing body of the successor agency to the Commerce Community Development Commission. Before I do that, we are reconvening from closed session. Mr. City Attorney, is there anything to report out?
Certainly, Mr. Mayor. With all 5 members of the City Council being present, the City Council met in closed session, discussed item number 1, which was conference with legal counsel regarding potential litigation. This conversation was authorized under Government Code Section 54956.9, subsection D, subsection 4. We discussed one matter. City staff made a presentation. City Council provided direction. No reportable action was taken. That completes the report out of closed session. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. City Attorney. And at this time, we'll take roll call. Madam Deputy City Clerk, could you please call roll?
Councilmember Altamirano.
Here.
Councilmember Argumedo.
Here.
Councilmember Roboyo. Here. Mayor Pro Tem Garcia.
Here.
And Mayor Lainez.
Here. Okay, great. At this time, I ask you all to please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance by Director Claude McFerguson, and I'll be doing today's invocation.
Right hand over your hearts. Ready? Begin. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
As we step into a new year, let us continue to approach our work with purpose, intention, dedication, and a deep commitment to the City of Commerce and the people that we serve. We are in a time when our nation is facing real challenges. Across our country, within our states, and even in our own cities, we see division, frustration, and anger. Our greatest strength has always been our ability to move forward together. In our community, let's do our part to make us stronger. Let us strive for unity over division, for open and respectful dialogue over conflict, and for understanding even when we may disagree. May our conversations be grounded in collaboration and guided by a shared vision for the future and what we want to build for ourselves, our families, and our community. As we carry out the responsibilities entrusted to us, let us lead with wisdom, compassion, and integrity. May we remain committed to public service and motivated by a genuine care for the well-being of our people. Let every decision we make reflect our dedication to improving the quality of life for Commerce families and strengthening the community we are proud to call home. Thank you. Okay, so we are now going to move to appearances and presentations. And the first item is the presentation to the graffiti removal team. And this is a very worthwhile item, and I really want to thank Councilman Hugo Argumedo for, bringing this to the agenda. I believe you have a few words that you'd like to say.
Yeah, I just wanted to extend my sincere thanks to all of the crew. I believe there's 6 members of the city's graffiti and paint crew, and I'll introduce them. Victor Hernandez, our lead, is here. I believe he's absent, that's right. Anthony Diaz, thank you, and Sean Diaz. And we also have Francisco Navarro. Is he available? He's absent as well. He's absent also. Raul Gonzalez? Absent, sir. Okay. And Roberto Santana. Great. Thank you all for being here because you absolutely are our front line for our city, for our community, making it look good. And I know in recent past few months, I'd say, we have been getting hit a lot by graffiti throughout the city, in different parts of the city. There's different requests that I know I've submitted with some of the businesses even that have been hit right below the bridge there, a lot of tagging. And in many cases, I can also tell you that I know that you guys are already working the issues sometimes. You're already, hey, I report it, I get things in, pictures and whatnot. And I know that sometimes you guys are already, working on the issue. Sometimes I'll be driving back and there you guys are already working. So I'm like, thank you. I just want to say thank you. We really appreciate all of the great work that you do, and that's part of why we asked that this item be put on the agenda, because you truly are the front line. You're part of what the community sees, or people that drive through our community. That's what they see. They're driving through and they see all of this tagging and things along those lines. But that's not the case with our community. I think usually you guys are on it either same day, the following day, or in very short order. You guys are cleaning things up, and that's part of what makes us different from many other communities. So again, we want to sincerely thank you for the great work that you guys are doing out there, and keep up the great work and making our community beautiful out there. So thank you very much. And I know that the mayor here will make some additional comments, and we do have some commendations to present to each of you. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Councilman. Anthony, Roberto, Sean, and everybody else who's being recognized today, just thank you so much for everything that you do for our city. The council member and I were talking about it before the meeting, but there's a lot of things that we'll report to the city manager, to staff, right, as far as graffiti. But in many cases, you're already aware of it, or you've already addressed it. And the one situation that really stands out to me is last year, there was a really bad graffiti incident in the Bandini area, right? It was a Saturday morning, and I know I got phone calls, I know many of you did as well, and it was really bad. And you guys weren't on shift, right? But you guys sure did show up, and you helped take care of that very same day. And I really thank you, because not only did that make that neighborhood look terrible, but it was also trying to send a message, right? And that could have been a very severe public safety hazard. So I really thank you all for making the time to come out there on a Saturday, for caring about your community, for really contributing to everything that we want to do to make our city beautiful. So your work is very appreciated. Thank you so much. And if we could all just give them a round of applause, please, because they do excellent work. We do have a certificate. I'll go ahead and hand these out, but I do want to read the words because I think they are important. So, in recognition of your commitment to promptly address the destructive influence of blight and graffiti throughout the City of Commerce, your efforts have played a significant role in preserving the city's appearance and maintaining a community that is largely free of graffiti. While many employees carry out their responsibilities without seeking acknowledgement, the positive feedback from the City of Commerce residents regarding your exceptional work merits special recognition. We sincerely appreciate your ongoing contributions to the model city, presented this 13th of January 2026, signed by myself, along with all the members of the City Council. So thank you again. I don't know if my colleagues have any words that they'd like to say. We'll start to my left with Councilwoman Boyd.
Thank you. First of all, I just want to share my gratitude. Councilman Argumedo said it perfectly. Our city looks amazing because of the work that you do. I know the minute we call in that we see graffiti, it is taken down immediately. Some of you have even come in on your days off because you don't want it to be left up over the weekend. And it truly is something that we appreciate. And your work really does not go unnoticed. Those of you that are artists, your work definitely has brought life to the City of Commerce. I don't want you to think that Sean's my favorite, but he's done a lot of murals here. And you've helped just keep the commerce history alive and vibrant with the talent and the skill that you have. So we are truly grateful for you, Sean. And for the crew, thank you. Your work is something that I know I can't do. I don't have that skill. And it's a talent and it's a skill. And for some people, it might be like, oh, well, they're just retouching. But no, you make sure that you match the color so perfectly so that our city doesn't look like, I'm not going to say, so that our city looks great. So I appreciate your work. Thank you. Thank you for the countless hours that you put in. And you're so worthy of this recognition and so much more. So thank you. And with that, I do want to mention something before he leaves, and I will ask if we can adjourn in her memory. But with that, I just want to share my deepest condolences to our employee, Sean Diaz, on the passing of a commerce legend, which is Ms. I used to call her Grandma Becky, Rebecca Logan, who lived here, has raised so many generations here in the City of Commerce, the Logan family. And I know that now looking at Sean getting these recognitions and doing what he does for the City of Commerce is something so worthy and that I know she would be so proud of. So with that, I share my deepest condolences to you and the family and ask that we please adjourn in her memory tonight. So again, thank you so much.
And thank you, Councilwoman, and of course, Sean, our condolences to your family. Any other comments?
I just want to say, I don't know all of you, but I do know Sean and I do know Anthony, and I know that they're a reflection of everybody that I don't know, and your guys' work is amazing. Anthony, thank you for always just being out in the streets. I see you there all the time. Some residents don't even think that there's graffiti on walls because of how fast you respond. And Sean, I think that the city's blessed to have you, with the Arts District growing and murals on walls, that you can actually match what's there and create your own art. I think that that's a skill that not a lot of us have, and I think it's a blessing. So thank you guys for everything you guys do.
Thank you for your comments, Councilman. Mayor Pro Tem?
Thank you. Thank you guys for always doing a great job. We really appreciate all your hard work. It never goes unnoticed, and just a bunch of thanks. Thank you so much. Sean, I've known you since I was a little kid. But thank you both, all three of you. Yes.
Great. So thank you again. And I'd like to invite you three up to take a picture with us with the certificates. So City Council, if we can all do that.
Just realized that I had garlic bread, so when I have don't take our case, sorry. I was like, oh my gosh, it probably smelled like garlic.
You should. You should.
Council, please step out. All right, thank you.
Okay, great. So now we'll move on to the second item, which is the presentation of the City of Commerce Public Library Year in Review. And I believe our Library Director, Sonia Bautista, will be presenting this item today.
Hello, good evening. Sonia Bautista, Director of Library Services. Good evening, Mayor and Council members, and thank you for the opportunity to share a brief end-of-the-year fiscal year for our Commerce Library. Each year, the library reports library usage of all formats to the California State Library, and I wanted to highlight some of the numbers with you tonight. There might be a few, but bear with me as I go through them. This past year, our library continued to be a place to learn, connect, and discover. One of our most valuable tools is data. The data that we use by tracking programs, by seeing what types of books we buy, the services usage, we're able to identify and make informed decisions that will help us plan wisely, expand what currently works, and also design future programs and truly reflect our residents as well as our business residents. Here we have on slide number 1, the library opened a total of 3,692 hours. Please do keep in mind when I say library, I'm referring to Bristol, Veterans, and Rosewood, since the Bandini Library and Learning Center was not open yet. Now it is. 35,756 people have a library card. Also remember that anyone in California who's a California resident can obtain a library card. 82,234 people walk through our doors. The next slide, Kevin. From these people, they asked 9,164 reference questions. That's crucial because that is key to the reason that they come into the library. So those 9,164 questions we really take into account to see why is it that they do visit the library. 73,892 library website visits. That's a tremendous amount that lets us know that people do visit our website. They're looking to see what we have to offer, and we have to make sure that it's always kept up to date. On our social media, which is the fun part, but also informational part of social media, we have 19,100 visits to our Instagram and our Facebook. Next slide, Kevin. We had 766 volunteer hours, which we're really thankful for those who help us in our many programs, which total this past year, 962 programs that were offered. This is children, adult, teens, class visits, food distribution, you name it. Those are all 962. And from those, we had 20,986 people attend. Next slide. Now going into what we have here in the library, print material. This is movies, magazines, books. We have a total of 81,136 throughout the 4 libraries. 105,017 includes all the electronic music, movies, comic books, and of course, ebooks. That also includes our Wi-Fi hotspots, our toy collection, and our laptops that we lend out, our hiking backpacks, and in the near future, our Alzheimer's kit that we're going to be getting ready to roll out this coming year. Of these items, we also lend out to other California and U.S. libraries. 393 items we lend out. Next slide. Also, our patrons, out of all these items, they checked out 12,272 electronic materials, or ebooks, or movies, or magazines, which this number keeps increasing. We really notice that now a lot of electronic material gets checked out, especially our movies, because you can watch them on your smart TV. So bringing the overall total of checkouts to 116,618. This data that I gave you today, I know it's a lot of numbers, but they do help us out and plan for the future. But I do want to say that this is the result of all the work of our library staff. I really want to sincerely thank them for the dedicated work that they do, their commitment and creativity. But I also want to thank our other city departments, because we always call on them when we need, public safety to close out the front of the library for our street, when we have a large event, when we borrow the senior center, when we borrow a bus, because our grants gives us museum tickets. So thanks to everyone. These data includes part of them also. And of course, thank you to all your support. But before I leave, I want to give you a sneak peek into 2026. So next one, Kevin. I'm coming for this year, not next year, this year. Last year, we offered free tax service, and they filled up the appointments really quick, and people wanted more. So again, we look at our data, we were able to secure 3 sessions. So 1 in the evening, 1 in the morning, and 1 on a Saturday. Pretty soon, you'll be hearing the dates, so people can sign up for that. Also, a telling of resident stories via a book and video called Commerce Now. That'll be out during National Library Week in April. And 2 years ago, we joined the One Book, One County. They took it further. Now it's One Book, One Coast, which is California, Oregon, and Washington. So all 3 states are going to be reading one book, which is Enemy, they call us, by George Takei, and it'll end with a visit from George Takei in Long Beach Library. So we'll give you the dates. That's coming in June. Again, we hope to see you at the library, and thank you for your support. I just wanted to share some of these numbers with you. Thank you.
Director Bautista, thank you for just walking us through that. The library does such great work year in and year out, and I know that one of the things that we really are proud of as a city is having our own library system, right? We're not a part of Lake County, right? The City of Commerce has their own library system, but the one thing that I've always appreciated about your department and your team is, you bring a lot of cultural events, with your programming. You also do a great job of blending entertainment with education, right? And so the events that I've attended, and I've attended quite a few, as you know, they've always been very engaging and very well attended. In fact, I think you and I have had this conversation, but typically when you advertise that a program is, happening, it gets filled up like that, right? Very quickly. And so I know you guys do a great job. The city definitely appreciates everything that your department does. You cater to all age groups, right? From toddlers to seniors, right? And so thank you for everything that you do. I'm really excited for 2026. You're going to continue doing a good job, and I'm also happy that the Bandini Library is back online.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, so now we'll go ahead and we'll move on to public comment. At this time, members of the public who wish to address the City Council on any agenda item or any matter not on the agenda and have submitted a speaker slip, I'll call your name, and if you could just come up to the podium. I will remind you that you do have a 3-minute time limit, but 3 minutes is actually a long time. I think it'll feel long, so we'll go ahead and get started. We do have 2 speakers tonight, so we have Yvonne Sandoval.
Well, Happy New Year, Mayor Kevin Lanise and all the council members. Here we are and also to the ones who are here in the audience and online. So, Happy New Year, everyone. I'm here as letting you all know, and those who might be interested in joining our senior club, which is called the Senior Citizens Club. And we will have our next meeting on the 27th of January, which is the last Tuesday of the month, and it's always held on the last Tuesday of the month. It does start at 1 p.m. and it goes on for about an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours. Now, this time we'll be registering, so it might take a little lengthy time to do that and complete that. We did successfully have our first senior trip this past Saturday, and it was a full bus, and everybody had a blast. They all had smiles on their faces. When we gather, like I mentioned, we will start registration for this year's membership, and it will be $7 for residents who live here and $15 for anybody else surrounding the cities. It's not closed just to, Commerce residents. We will start having our raffles, and we also have a table of sales to generate money so it can help support, like our end of the year Stevens Steakhouse luncheon, dinner. I do want to go through a couple of the events that we've had this past year. First of all, we had like 12 successful trips last year, that part of the club. We had, first of all, Oralia with her mom's champurrado for our first meeting. That was last year, and I still remember and taste the deliciousness. So thank you, and your mother always providing us with a champurrado. Secondly, we had our music with a DJ that our mayor provided for us at our Stevens Steakhouse, and that was amazing, and they sang so wonderfully. Thirdly, we had a Dirt Dog fundraiser, and that was provided and because of Ivan Altamirano, and it was just wonderful. That was money for our club, and it was all provided by, Dirt Dog. And we just have had a great year, and I can't wait for the start. Oh, in case I didn't say my name is Yvonne Sandoval, and who's come with me is our newly elected treasurer, Lori Meeks. So it's fabulous. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Yvonne, and thank you, Lori, for joining us this evening, and thank you for raising awareness about your senior club.
Thank you.
We do have another speaker card, so at this time, I'm calling up Frank Martinez. If you could please join us.
Ladies, gentlemen, again, Frank Martinez here. This is something that has to do with graffiti. By the way, thank you guys, whoever does the removal. As I talked to you in the meeting last Thursday, I believe, we have issues with this gang element. And the problem was about that all of this was done around Bandini Elementary. We have to keep in mind, when this tagging, they're fighting wars for these people, right? They're in the school because somebody's telling, here I am, the other one is saying, here I come. Sometimes you hear in the news about the Texas. Nobody did anything. Nobody was ready to do anything. I don't like catchy phrases like, see something, say something. In order for me to do that, there has to be somebody to do something. Up to this day, I don't know exactly what's the chain of command when you need to talk to somebody about something that's not an emergency. I cannot make a 911 call because it's not an emergency, but I know it's going to happen. Real quick, somebody was tagging Sunday night. I was in the area. We were kind of following each other just by chance. I called the sheriff's department that night. The next day, I came here to City Hall. I spoke with Officer Barreras, that he listened to my concerns. And at about 2 o'clock, and around 2000 hours, somebody called from the address of the person that I'm positive was doing the tagging, and a rival gang was tagging the front of his house with weapons, So the police was called to take care of that situation, So I told Officer Barreras at 2 o'clock in the afternoon that day, this is going to happen. Because unfortunately, I know how to read all this tagging. I was reading East LA, you learn stuff. I know when I see tagging and fighting wars, what that means and what's going to happen. So I just want to know, what's the chain of command here? I used to talk to a person called Edson. I don't know if it was his first name or last name. They told me that person's not here anymore. Who do I talk to? They gave me a number. I don't want to say a name, but they gave me a number. I'm still waiting for a call back. And this happened Sunday, January the 4th. So how can we work better, communicating? That's it. Again, me thinking that something can happen around the school. I don't have any interest in that. My son is 27, he lives in Riverside. But I know if something happened, some family is gonna suffer, and I don't want that to be the case in this city. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Martinez.
Oh, by the way, I crudely gave you something so you can follow, if you wanna follow it. If you have follow-up questions, you can call me. I'll leave you my number. Okay? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Martinez. And we did have an opportunity to speak at the Neighborhood Watch meeting in the Bristow neighborhood last week, and I know a couple of my colleagues here did attend. Mr. City Manager, if we can just make sure to get his number, I do have it on the speaker card, and if we can just give Mr. Martinez a call back to address his concerns and make sure that he gets the information that he needs. So again, thank you for being vigilant and coming here today.
Thank you so much.
Okay, so that's it for the speaker card. So that now concludes public comment. At this time, we'll move on to the consent calendar, which consists of items 3 through 7. Does anyone here wish to pull any consent calendar items? And if not, at this time, I'll entertain a motion.
Second.
Second.
Okay, so we have a motion to approve the items on the consent calendar by Councilwoman Rebollo and a second by Councilmember Argumedo. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. So now we'll move on to scheduled matters and moving to item number 8, which is a presentation and update from the Sheriff's Department of Public Safety in the City of Commerce.
So, Mayor and Member City Council, tonight is our newly assigned Sergeant, Cortez. It happened fairly quickly, so we will organize some kind of event for the community to also meet the Sergeant. But he's here tonight to present our regular Sheriff Department report.
Thanks, sir. Good evening, Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, members of the council, ladies and gentlemen in the audience. Again, just I want to introduce myself again, Sergeant Ozzy Cortez. I'm here at the East LA Sheriff's Station now. A little bit about my background is I come from investigations. I was a detective at the Century Linwood Station. Prior to that, I was a field train officer at the Compton Station and worked patrol and trained there. Beginning my 20th year of service, so I hope I bring some experience and forward progress here to the City of Commerce. First slide is going to be Part 1, Crimes Against Property. Well, what does that mean? A lot of people, I understand, have been seeing these slides for months or years and are not familiar with some of the wording. So Part 1 is anything that's felonious, serious violent crimes. This is going to be the top of the crime pyramid. The first part is against property. For the month of December 2025, there was 2 armed robberies. In note to self, it's going to be a robbery with a weapon, usually a firearm, knife, or any matter like that. There was 5 strong-arm robberies. Strong-arm means no weapon. It was done by force or by fear. Burglary, 0 residential, but there was several non-residential. Again, Part 1 means these were serious, meaning they were part of a garage or maybe a commercial building, something where a person could have been there but wasn't. For that, there was 6 reported at night, 1 during the day, and 1 unknown. Usually that means over the weekend or a period of time where we don't know if it happened during the day or the night. The victim indicates they're not sure if it happened during the day or the night. Burglary in regards to thefts. So this is serious crimes again, where a person could have been present, but was not. And these are the non-residential and also non-building parts. The first one is grand theft. That one's real familiar with stores. So basically it's during business hours. People could be shopping or working, could be like a liquor store, 7-Eleven, and people are stealing, or suspects are stealing from $950 or more. And 41 of those were reported in December. Theft from vehicle, whether the vehicle is unlocked or not, this is a 16 reported felony thefts, meaning the value of the things taken were over $950 each time. 25 petty thefts. So these are thefts, again, from vehicle, but they were under $950. All here in the City of Commerce. These statistics are for the City of Commerce only. I know in the past they have compared other cities. Unless there's a need to do so, I'm going to continue reporting on the City of Commerce only. Auto thefts, basically grand theft auto, 36 in the month of December. And arson, 1 arson reported in the month of December. So those are crimes against property. Next slide, crimes against person. So these are basically what it means. It's person to person, and these are, again, serious violent felonies. These either are likely to cause great bodily injury or did produce great bodily injury. They are familiar, or some of the incidents would be gunshot victims, stabbings, any type of mayhem against a person, hand to hand. And there are 0 homicides, 0 rapes, but there are 10 aggravated assaults reported for December. Next slide. The public safety officers, I understand from my city partner, Natalie Hernandez, who's been exceptional to me. This is my first week. I did begin on Sunday, the day of the fire in Commerce. And as of that day, Monday and today, Natalie Hernandez has been extraordinary assistance to me. She informed me that the public safety officers group is acquiring new hires, and I look forward to working with them, to training with them along the deputies that I supervise, and providing with them LA County Sheriff's training, whether I can bring the resources here to Commerce or just drive them right up to our training center on Eastern at the Sheriff's Training Center, Piscataway Center. Next slide. The Citadel. I'm also responsible for the Citadel property. I met with my team today formally. I've known these deputies for quite some time, since I arrived in the summer to East LA. But we had a formal meeting today. I addressed my expectations of them, my background, and what I'm going to be prepared to do for the City of Commerce, particularly with the Citadel. And hopefully, not hopefully, but moving forward to future presentations, I'll have some information, operations, photos, descriptions of what we've been doing there at Citadel. But thank you for your time, and if there are any questions, I'm available.
Thank you, Sergeant, for being here today, and welcome to the city. I believe my colleague, Mayor Pro Tem Garcia, does have a question.
Welcome aboard.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
I have a question. There was some concerns with some residents stating that there's some homelessness in their property, and they called the department, the sheriff's department, and then they followed up with a different department. But can you walk us through the steps to see what they need to do to get the sheriff's department out here sooner?
Yes. One of the many complaints throughout the county is feeling or getting a full service from the sheriff's department, from the deputies in patrol. A lot of times there is a miscommunication from the caller, which is usually a victim, a witness, someone related to the incident, through the phone operator, and whatever that communication is given, that gets passed on to the patrol deputy. A lot of times the patrol deputy will arrive on scene and they don't know half of what you explained to the phone operator. And that is neither the person who's calling's fault or overall just to not blame fault. The best way to equip citizens, callers, is to give you guys just a little bit of information to arm the sheriff's department. Law enforcement is limited, right? There's very little to what can be done when a crime has not occurred or is reasonably determined to be occurring. So not always does the crime have to happen, but if there's a buildup to it, then that's a law enforcement response. Several calls come in where it's maybe like a civil matter or it doesn't get explained properly. And I'd like to take this moment then to explain to callers, citizens, when you place the call to the phone operator, indicate that you are present, if you are, that you're a witness to what's happening. you can jot down these notes. Let them know that you want to speak to the deputy when he arrives, that you're willing to come forward as a victim or a witness and to speak with them when they arrive, and to indicate that in the remarks. That's a key word. To indicate in the remarks that you want to speak to the deputy when they arrive. If you feel that there's a safety issue and want to remain anonymous, but you're good with a phone call, provide a phone call. And again, in the remarks, let them know you'd like the deputy to speak to you when they arrive on scene. When they arrive on scene, to give you a call. Further from that is in regards to the incident with the homeless. I did get a heads up on it. I did look up the call, and there was not a call generated, at least from my search. We were just missing the name of the street and the exact date and time. But when you do have something occurring, let them know that you want, an example of the homeless on your property, you want the person detained to be identified for more than a couple of reasons. You can explain that you're looking for a court restraining order application. That person needs to be detained so you can have a court protection order against them. You can let them know that you'd like them to be contacted and identified so that if a crime does occur at a later date, we have that on record. Most deputy sheriffs are very keen. They know what they need to do. It's just a communication between the dispatch and the actual patrol deputy of what the citizen wants. And the more you explain in that call what you want, then the deputy's going to get there and do A, B, and C. There's probably several more examples and details, but the point is to communicate to the phone operator, the dispatch, as much as you can. And one key takeaway, if it's something that is a part one crime and something that you want a follow-up from, like I mentioned to Mr. Frank in the past, is get the tag number. Tell them, hey, I'm calling this in. Can you give me the tag number? Because I'm gonna follow up with Sergeant Cortez from Commerce. I'm gonna ask basically what happened, if if it's something serious like an arrest or any type of nature like that, and I'll with time gladly follow up with you guys what we can give out that an investigator is not holding as an active case.
Thank you for your information.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you for your question, Mayor Pro Tem. Any other questions from the council? Councilwoman Darboy?
I think mine is more of a comment. I just wanted to say welcome to the team. But I will echo the sentiments of the question that the Mayor Pro Tem had, because I have had more calls in regards to the customer service at the desk. And to be quite honest, I've had 2 incidents where I've called it myself. And anytime I call, I do not identify myself as who I am, because I want to know how the desk is treating the community, right? And I'm not anything special. I'm a regular resident in the city of Commerce. So we can have a more in-depth conversation, but I did want, because there are multiple residents that said, we need to ask these questions. But let's have a conversation. But I will say that I have noticed a decline. The customer service at the desk had been really good for a while, but within the past month or so, I have seen the decline in just the regular customer service, and then the wait time when we're calling, and the response. So we can get into that in more conversation so we don't drag this along. But I will echo the sentiments that there has been a little bit more phone calls. And of course, that's something that is not only within your hands right here, but I do want us to have a conversation about that. The sooner the better. But welcome to the team, and we're excited to have you. And let me tell you, you do have big shoes to fill. We've had 2 wonderful sergeants that the community loved, absolutely loved. So get ready, because you have big shoes to fill. Thank you so much.
Sergeant Cortez, thank you for your report and coming out today. We'll sit down one-on-one, right, to kind of talk through, I think what your strategies are and what your vision is and your approach, right, to public safety here in the city. And then, of course, I'm sure my colleagues will also want to meet just so we can express kind of like the things that we're seeing and the things that we know, just to make sure that we can maintain that level of continuity that we've had, just because, as Councilwoman Rebollo had pointed out, there have been a couple of other sergeants that have, been through the City of Commerce over the past several months, year, and we just want to make sure that we maintain that same level of service, right, if not better. So, thank you. And then I know we also have our probation officer, Joseph McClellan. Welcome, Joseph.
Good evening, Mayor, members of the City Council. Happy New Year. My name is Deputy Probation Officer Joseph McClellan, with a follow-up to Mayor Pro Tem's request on individuals under probation investigation and supervision within the City of Commerce for the calendar years of 2024 and 2025. At this time, this is a little disclaimer, the second half of the year statistics were not obtainable, but will be presented once the department makes that information available. Next slide, please. Wow. It's a lot of information on one slide. In 2024, the probation department supervised 662 adults and 113 juvenile probationers within the city. For January through June of 2025, there were approximately 350 adult and 89 juvenile cases. Although the 2025 data reflect only 6 months, activity levels remain substantial and generally consistent with prior trends. As you can see, adult probation cases make up the majority of cases throughout the city, accounting for roughly 6 times as many cases as juvenile probationers. Juvenile cases, while fewer in numbers, continue to represent an ongoing concern for the city. Demographically, the data shows a consistent pattern across both adult and juvenile populations. Hispanic individuals represent the overwhelming majority of clients, accounting for nearly 90% of adult cases and the largest share of juvenile cases as well. In addition, both populations are predominantly male, with approximately 85% of clients being male. From an age perspective, adult clients are primarily concentrated between 26 to 55 years old, reflecting a largely working age population. Juvenile clients are most commonly between 14 to 17 years of age, with a smaller number of individuals aged 18 or older who remain under juvenile jurisdiction. Geographically, cases are concentrated in a limited number of zip codes. Adult clients are most frequently from the 90022 and 90023 area codes, while juvenile cases are most concentrated in the 90040 zip code. Next slide. This concludes my presentation. This is my my card for the residents. If they have any concerns as far as any juvenile probationers, adult probationers, they can reach out to me. I'm also in the graffiti situation where any kind of graffiti, whether if I'm driving into City Hall and I see some fresh graffiti, I am taking pictures, and I have a database with all the graffiti that I accumulate on my county cell phone. So I am on it, and I would like to work with the painters and get a little bit more information that I can gather up for my intel. Any questions?
Officer, thank you for being here today. And then also, I want to thank you for also attending our neighborhood watch meeting
I
last
plan on
Thursday.
attending all the neighborhood watch
I
meetings.
think your
Yes.
presence is important. So
Yes.
really glad that you're here presenting today and passing on your information. Also appreciate your willingness to work with our existing teams, right? We don't want to be silos, right? We want to make sure that we're working together just to deliver better results for our community. So,
Definitely.
So thank you. I don't know, do any of my colleagues have any questions or comments? Councilman Argumedo?
Yeah, thank you both for your presentation. Welcome, Sergeant. I know we did get a chance to meet at the neighborhood watch meeting over in the Bristol Park area. Thank you again. There was many issues that were brought up, and I just want to thank you guys for making yourselves available, and hopefully we can begin to address some of those issues that they brought up over there. There was a whole list of them, several people that spoke. Also, I want to thank Mr. Martinez, who came up and made some comments related to graffiti, and he provided some pictures that he provided. I did want to forward these to you since you mentioned that you have a database.
Mm-hmm.
I hope we can get these. Do you have a copy of this information?
Mr.
Martinez?
Yes. Yeah, he's gonna text me that information, so,
Okay, he is going to text
Yeah.
us? Okay. Yeah, I just want to make sure you get it and see if you can help and assist us with some of that, because I think we need to identify some of the folks that are causing a lot of the graffiti in our community, and hopefully we can try to, take care of that.
Yes.
But anyways, I just want to thank you guys both for your presentation and for the work you will be doing here in our community, particularly our new sergeant here. Thank you. Welcome.
Thanks. Thank you.
Great. Thank you for your comments, Councilman. Councilwoman Rebollo?
Really quickly, we could go back to the previous slide. I'm sorry, I have a question about the numbers. If I'm understanding this correctly, the total probation cases that you have within those 3 zip codes is 350, but 35 are in Commerce, correct?
Yes.
In the male, in the adults?
In the 90040
Okay.
area, yes.
And then for the juveniles, it's 47.
Yes.
So it's not the 350 just in Commerce, yes?
That is correct.
Okay, just wanted to make sure. That was it. Thank you very much for your presentation.
Okay, thank you, Councilwoman. Anybody else? No? Okay, Sergeant and Officer, thank you again for being here. Okay, great. So at this time, we'll move on to item number 9. That is committee and commission appointments. Deputy City Clerk, if you would, please.
Yes, Deputy City Clerk Melanie Park. There is currently one available vacant seat in the Youth Advisory Commission, and that appointment will be made by Councilmember Argumedo.
Thank you, City Clerk, and I've forwarded you the information for my appointee. Her name is Perla Reyes, and I believe you have her number, her address, and all of her relevant information to contact her and make sure that we schedule her for the next phases of her appointment.
Yes,
Thank you.
will do.
Okay, excellent. And so I know it's typically been practiced not to make a motion on this, but I believe the last time we made a commission appointment, we did. So, Mr. City Attorney, do we need to do that in this case?
Let me review our code to see if a motion is required or not.
Okay, well, why don't we do this? I'll make or Councilman, would you like to make a motion?
I like to stick with practice of not really needing it. It's up to the city council member that appoints.
It typically is, but I think the last time we did this, we were asked to make a motion on the item.
I believe that was just, why don't we look into that? But for now, I'll
Okay.
just make the appointment as the presiding council member, as we have done for many, many years. But if there is something other than that, if we do need a motion for that, then by all means, let us know. But
My recollection is that a motion is not required.
not
Agreed,
required. I don't
agreed.
think
I
so.
think I was just surprised that the last time we did this, there was, but I'm happy to move forward in this fashion. So let's do that.
Okay. Yeah, so I'm looking at the code, and I don't see anything in the code about
Okay.
requiring a vote.
Great.
Thank you.
Okay, so now we'll go ahead and move on to item number 10, which is a license agreement with Trapeze Entertainment LLC and Cirque Entertainment 3 LLC. Who will be presenting on this item today?
Very much, Giselle Delgado will present.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor and Vice Mayor and members of the City Council. I'm here to present to you the the agreement to authorize the mayor to enter into a license agreement with Trapeze Entertainment LLC and Cirque Entertainment 4 LLC. To give you some background on this staff report, in the past, the city-owned property located at 5933 Telegraph Road has been previously leased out to interested parties on a temporary basis, in which the lessee agrees to the terms and conditions found in the corresponding license agreements. In September, the applicant, Mark Landon, reached out to the city staff and provided a full application for both of the requests in December. The first event would be hosted by Trapeze, and I hope I'm pronouncing it correctly, Entertainment LLC, DBA Circus Caballero, and will take place starting January 19th and exit the property on February 3rd, 2026. The second event is scheduled by Cirque Entertainment 4 LLC DBA Paranormal Cirque. They will enter the property on March 10th and exit the property on March 17th, 2026. It should be noted that there will be a correction in the agreements with the end time of each show ending at 11:30. The applicant did mention that there is flexibility on the end time, and he's here today in case there's any questions or comments regarding this request. Moving on, both events will be equipped with a safety plan and will have 6 security personnel present during the time of each show hours. The applicants have agreed to provide a donation of $30,000 to the city for the combined events, as well as a $500 fee per applicant, the total amount $1,000 for the use of the property. Other benefits include providing for safety enhancements such as additional fencing, as well as indemnifying the city in the event of any accidents. As part of the review process, Planning Division staff routed this request to the City of Commerce's Building and Safety Division, Public Works Division, Business License Division, Public Safety Division, and the LA County Fire and Sheriff's Departments. Conditions of approval have been provided that are intended to ensure that there is greater control and oversight of the event while mitigating any possible detrimental impact to both of the subject sites at the neighboring property. I would also like to point out that in part of the conditions, part of the 27 conditions that are listed, number 23, it states that should the applicant go beyond their term date of each agreement, the applicant shall pay the city $1,000 for each day the applicant will remain on the property beyond the approved exit dates identified in this, under this condition. And that is all on my end.
Okay, thank you for your presentation.
If you have any
Delgado?
questions, we have the applicant here present.
Okay, does the council have any questions or comments?
I do.
Sure, Councilman Argumedo.
It's going to be just comments, and they're not specific to the current applicant. It's more specific to the fact that we've had a recent, event over at the area that we're looking at, the same property. And the issue I have is that we didn't seem to get a review of how things went, problems that were incurred, lessons learned, so that as we move forward, then we apply it to future applicants if that would be the case, right? Like if this land continues to remain vacant, which we hope it doesn't, because I believe that we're hoping something else will develop there in the near future. But regardless, as we move forward, the concern that I have is I don't think that the last agreement or this agreement are favorable to the city in terms of generating revenue, and I think that they should be. In other words, both parties should be able to walk away being able to generate revenue, one for the city, they can generate revenue for themselves, and also, provide the entertainment, whatever it may be, whether it's a pumpkin patch or whether it's a circus type event as we're being discussed now. But there were several incidents in the past event that we had that I don't believe anybody's reported. We're not hearing about them. So it just seems that we're moving forward without really looking at some of the issues and concerns that we had, and how do we address them? How do we move forward to make sure it's a safe environment for the entire community here and those that come and visit as well? There was several incidents that I became aware of that concern me, and I'm concerned about them. And, I don't see us taking any action with regards to those or addressing them. And for that reason, I'm not comfortable moving forward. And I've stated that, previously. I've had some discussion with our city manager and others, and those are concerns of mine. That's not to say that the current applicant would be operating in the same manner, but those are concerns that need to be taken into consideration as we move forward. We can't just continue to do this because at the end of the day, although the contract here says that you indemnify the city, in reality, if not everything is done properly, we don't get the appropriate permits, and we don't follow appropriate safety guidelines, I believe that, you got attorneys out there looking for an opportunity, and the person they're going to be coming to is going to be the city. They're going to be looking and saying, hey, you didn't make sure that this was done. You didn't make sure that the people operating that venue, that entertainment met all of the requirements. I mean, there'll be reasons for them to be looking to point to the city because they're going to say, these are the people that really have money to pay out on some insurance claim, So for those reasons, I'm concerned, and I'm concerned because now we're moving on to another one just like this. Overnight, boom, we're going to the next one. In addition, that other event went on, and I believe that they were there for about 3 weeks to 4 weeks almost, probably a month beyond the time that they should be there. And they seem to take forever to clean up and remove all of the equipment from there. And those, to me, are also problems. And I thought in here, you're indicating that there's a clause in here that they would clean up, I believe. They're going to pay for every day that they're beyond. So, I want to know. And I also want to know, I want our finance director to also provide the information that we actually did get the amount of money that was due to the Community Benefits Fund. I'd like to see that there was an actual deposit that was deposited there, because there was several ongoing little problems that came about as a result of the previous operation. I don't want that to repeat itself. So for those reasons, I really think that we should have at least had some lessons learned, review of what happened, how everything went, and then we apply that moving forward to any potential new operators that come, if that's the direction we want to take. So those are my comments. Thank you.
Thank you for those comments, Councilman. Does anybody else have any questions, comments? Councilwoman Rebollo?
As the council member was making his comments, and I started thinking, okay, valid concerns. So I guess my question is, there is a safety plan, yes?
Correct, yes.
And the safety plan is reviewed by who? It's like, is it the general safety plan that the city provides to all applicants?
No, it's a safety plan that the operator provided.
But it's vetted by our planning department, yes?
Correct.
Yes.
Okay.
The planning department, it's site-specific planning has to approve it.
Okay, and then it also goes through like proper channels as far as like fire and code, all that, right?
Correct, yes.
Okay.
So Jessica can speak to our process with regards to the safety plan.
Okay.
Yes, thank you, Councilmember Rebollo, for your question. The safety plan is prepared by the applicant, and it is routed to Public Works, Traffic, Fire, Building and Safety, Planning, and all those parties review it, make comments, give them back to the applicant, making sure that it meets the proper protocols and the regulations.
Okay. And then throughout the time of operation, again, because there was things that I wasn't even thinking about until, they were brought up right now, which are very, very valid comments and concerns. Throughout the time of operation, do any of our staff go to like kind of make sure that they are following these safety plans? Or how does that work?
Prior to them starting their operations, they need to have inspections done by Building and Safety and Fire.
Okay.
And they go out there and make sure everything is per plan. And then they're given the green light to start.
Okay. And is it common practice that like we also go out during the time of operation, or is it just before they start operating?
It's typically before the start, but if there's any questions, concerns, issues, they will
It would
go
be treated
out.
like a code compliance case.
Okay.
Essentially, like we would get a complaint, right?
Got it.
So, in speaking to Councilmember Argumedo and some concerns now that I've heard, I'm actually meeting with the former applicant next week to try to get to the bottom of some of that information, right?
Okay.
Typically, these are not run through the city. Typically, most of these are done on private property.
Yeah.
So it's a little different in that regard,
Yeah.
right? Because most cities don't have the amount of space that the city controls, so.
Okay. I think that was my biggest question is the safety plan, the execution on our end, right? Just to make sure that we are following, or they are following, right, the proper code and protocol. I lost my train of thought. There was another question that I didn't write down. I should have. But that's the gist of what I wanted to know, was the safety plan that was. And you mentioned security. Did you mention 6 security guards? Yes, right?
Yes, 6 security guards.
Okay. And then I'm assuming we've met with like the new sergeant and we have all that plan set in motion, right? Because traffic on Telegraph, all that good stuff. There is a traffic plan of ingress and egress, right?
Yes.
Okay. That's it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for your comments, Councilwoman. Any other questions from my colleagues here? I do have some questions, some comments, and then I know, Councilman, you have a follow-up. The report references a $30,000 community benefit contribution. At what point is that contribution due?
We're going to have them pay it prior to their operations, start of their operations.
Great. And could staff maybe give us or clarify how those funds are typically accounted for? What are they used for?
They're deposited into the city's donation account, and I believe that they may be used for some of the programs for seniors.
Rental assistance.
And rental
These are
assistance.
specifically used for the rental assistance.
For the senior rent subsidy program, correct? Okay.
Right, that revenue source is falling off, so anytime we get these opportunities, we put it in there.
Okay, great. And, I think our council members made some great points. I want to make sure that if this does go through tonight, the security plan is reviewed also with our sheriff's department, right? With our sergeant, just to make sure that they're in lockstep and know what's going on and could maybe give their recommendations if need be, right? So, and I think another question is, what type of protocol is there in place to ensure direct coordination between private security and fire or sheriff personnel during show hours? And I ask because, there's pyrotechnics that could be involved, for example, right? And so we want to make sure that we're at the ready for cases like this. So could you maybe talk a little bit about that?
Sure. Actually, the applicant, Mark Landon, would be able to better speak on that. If it's okay, he can come and answer that one.
Sure.
Hi, my name is Mark Landon. I represent both organizations, both circuses. I'd like to actually address everything from the different council members because I think I could assure you of a few things. First off, as far as the security goes, Cirque Entertainment actually operates about 7 different circuses throughout the United States. Just so you know, they're based in Florida. And that particular show, both shows have internal security. I don't want you to think that they are outside security guards or internal securities. Both shows are very different. The paranormal show is geared towards adults, and as people come up, they are actually wanded to make sure there's no metal, bags are checked, everything is fenced, and in the 4 years I've working with them, there's never been really a problem with security. Caballero is a little different show. Caballero is more of a family show, which gets more moms and dads and grandmas and little kids, and so the security is more low-key. With that, and it's not necessary, but they have the same amount of security. Both operations are run roughly the same. As far as staying on the property too long, these shows are run completely different than carnivals. I know a lot of times a lot of cities compare circuses and carnivals and thinks they're all the same, and they're actually very, very different in so many ways that I'm not going to go through unless you ask. However, each circus has another place to be. The day after the last show for Caballero, they're going to be setting up in Ontario Mills Mall. So they have a place to go, as opposed to the Pumpkin Patch, which had no place to go. And the same thing with the paranormal show. That one is going, it's actually kind of on a big race to get from roughly the Mexican border to the Canadian border in just about a couple of months. So their next stop is going to be in Central California. So they have to vacate the property and move on just for our own operations, so there's no need to be there. As far as coordination go and inspections, in addition to the building and fire inspections that was already mentioned, we also have an inspection by the health department. We've already obtained our health permit. We've already obtained the city business license. We've already spoken to LA County Fire and had discussions with them. And we work with LA County Fire in several jurisdictions, and locally in Bell, in City of Industry. So we were very familiar how to work it, and oftentimes, I don't want to say it's necessarily here because I have not finished discussing with them, but many times LA County Fire actually stations a fire safety officer on site during all show times. And sometimes they do and sometimes they don't. Generally, LA County Fire does, so I would anticipate that it would happen here as well, although that hasn't been finalized. I'm sorry, I'm not sure I got to your question, what it was. I may have forgotten.
So my question was, in a scenario, or just making sure what type of direct coordination protocols are in place between your private security, right, and our public safety team, specifically fire and sheriff during show hours, because the nature of these acts.
Well, during show hours, I anticipate LA County Fire just being there because that's what they typically do. As far as law enforcement go, whenever we travel around on both shows, police and sheriff, mostly, frankly, they leave us alone, but they come as needed and they might check in and that type of thing. Both shows have a general manager. Both shows have walkie-talkies where they communicate to all of the different security guards and ushers and things like that throughout the show. If LA County Fire is there, I mean, they're just there. Everybody knows them. Everybody sees them and that kind of stuff. Oh, you mentioned pyrotechnics. There is no pyrotechnics in either show.
Okay.
Because it's a tented show, and believe it or not, people are very sensitive back to the Ringling Brothers fire of the 1930s. A lot of the rules today are still based on that. So there is no pyrotechnics. We've given all of the plans completely to fire. When we've spoken to the building department here, they said they had no specific requirements. They're going to fire handle it, but I'm going to go back and double check because it's in the requirements that staff prepare. So I'll make sure that they're okay with that. Generally, I know we need an electrical permit for the generator. So we go upon, I know you mentioned something about not getting proper permits. That's one thing I insist on. The shows I work on 4 different shows, that we all follow all of the rules exactly to the letter without a problem. Because the last thing I want is any show to be shut down, and it's easier just to play by the rules to begin with. So,
thank you, Mr. Landon. And I think just one more question. Sometimes, with circuses, some people take umbrage with the treatment of animals. Could you talk about the animals and or if there are any animals, because I am familiar with Circus Caballero, I believe, and maybe talk a little bit about that?
Sure. Actually, neither of these shows have any animals whatsoever. So I have worked with circuses with animals in the past, but really throughout California, it's extremely rare for circuses to have animals anymore. It's just the atmosphere, both with the public and the government officials, is just, it's not looked highly upon. So most circuses don't have it, and neither of these shows do.
Okay, great. Thank you for that. Those are my questions for now. And then, Councilman, you have some.
Just to follow up, and again, these my comments were general, not specific to you, your operation. It's to me, we lived through already something here, and there was some things that I think need to be looked at, and that's why I'm making the comments that I'm making. So, but I do feel much more comfortable because one, you're here and you're able to address some of these issues and concerns that have been raised, and I feel a level of comfort. The only other question I would ask, and I would ask our director to please come on up. I just want to follow up quickly. Just you made a comment. You mentioned that the inspections they're completed prior to operation. This goes for any of the events we've had.
Yes.
So, and any permitting, any inspections were conducted, the previous operation, and everything was met?
Yes. It's from the city.
All right, so there was no safety issues that we're aware of?
Not that we were aware of, but I think the meeting with that operator is going to be helpful so that we can understand if there were any issues, how do we anticipate and address those?
Okay, all right, and those were the questions that I had. Other than that, I don't have any other questions. Thank you, but that is very important. There is other issues that I believe I've shared some with our city manager, and I just want to make sure we move that information and have those discussions with the new operator related to some of those concerns that we had. And it relates to public safety. We got a lot of not only residents, young kids, girls, and there were some issues that were raised and brought to my attention that I believe lead to some public safety, making sure that our residents are okay. I want to make sure they're properly protected, and those were issues that were brought to my attention. So I want to make sure. And I'm talking about previous operators. Number one, being under the influence. Number two, making advances to some of our young people that were in attendance, which to me is inappropriate. Okay.
Thank you for that, Councilman. I think those are very valid comments, and I do want to point out a couple of things. One, in the staff report, I think recommendation number 23 does specify when the applicant must leave the property, and obviously it's in your best interest for at least Circus Caballero to leave the property at a certain date, right? So that the paranormal circus could step in, but ultimately, we're talking about Circus Caballero needing to vacate the property no later than 10 p.m. on February 3rd, right? 2026. That's what I see. And then the Paranormal Circus to vacate on March 17th, right? And then if for every day that passes by and you're still occupying that property, there will be a $1,000 fine, right?
That's correct.
So I want to make sure that we're, following up on that and just making sure that we're diligent. Not only that, but also ongoing, just to make sure that some of the concerns that our council member here, we're doing our job to lean in as a city and just making sure that the operation is up to our standards. And Mr. Landon, obviously, you have a brand and a business and an act you're trying to protect, right? So I think you're doing whatever you can, but as a city, we should be doing that too, right? So with that said, I just want to make sure that we also notify the surrounding businesses and nearby property owners that this will be happening, just so they're aware. And as long as we can do that, I'll go ahead and make a motion to approve this item for staff recommendation.
I'll second.
So at this time, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Motion passes. Welcome to Commerce. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, so at this time, we'll go ahead and move on to item number 11. And who will be presenting on this item today?
Honorable Mayor and members of the City Council, I'll present to the best of my abilities. And I have
and for those in the public and watching, our city manager, Ernie Hernandez, is not feeling well today, but he decided to pull himself up by the bootstraps and join us here today. So thank you for that, Mr. Hernandez.
Thank you. And I wear Skechers with no straps, so it's even harder. Okay, so I have a PowerPoint presentation, but I just want to summarize. This is a pretty innovative approach to city municipal marketing. It's unique. It's a different way of looking at economic development as cities perform this. All cities have initiatives, right? But this is a much different approach, which we think will do a couple of, it'll accomplish a couple of goals that we're trying to accomplish here. So, and again, this is just the beginning. Some of what you'll see tonight, actually, it's still in progress. We're moving fairly quickly. I think our first major event is coming up in March, which is a conference similar to ICSC, but it's It's triggered specifically for industrial and commercial uses, okay?
Yep. Thank you for that, Mr. City Manager. And just so the council is aware, this item is being brought forth today because I think it addresses a couple of important things that we've all talked about over the years, which is we don't receive a lot of state and federal funding for our infrastructure due to our low living population. But the truth of the matter is the City of Commerce, like a few other cities, which we'll briefly talk about here today, we're economic hubs, and we have a large daytime and working population, and that's great for the economy of the state, right? And it's great for our economy as well, but it comes with impacts, right? And so we're not getting a lot of dollars to kind of help repair our roads or sewer, lights, so on and so forth. So bridges as well, right? And the other thing that I want to highlight is that we do have some challenges attracting new development in the form of community amenities like restaurants and recreational establishments here in Commerce. And it's mostly because of our lower population. So the way I look at this is it's kind of like an economic positioning strategy where if we want to compete more effectively for those infrastructure and economic development dollars and opportunities, we need to tell our story better, right? And we need to tell it together. We need to have a louder voice. And we'll talk about that a little bit, but this item could lay the groundwork for something like that. So with that said, we can just move on with the presentation.
And I appreciate the reminder. This is essentially a follow-up to the resolution the City Council passed to form the Big Four, not Big Five anymore. One organization, Irwindale, could not commit to the goals of the group. But this is where we're at. And again, we're trying to look out for our self-interest here. So can I get the next slide, please? So as a group and as a city, we are an economic powerhouse, right? So now what we're trying to do is recognize that economic powerhouse contribution to not only the county of Los Angeles, but the state of California, and recognize the fact that we, as much as we are a residential community, we're a jobs creation community, right? So our day population here, right, quadruples or quintuples our residential population, and including some of our own residents work in the city, right? And if you're like me, I'm very surprised when I run into people and they're like, oh, I make this thing in Commerce, or things that that companies purchase and other organizations are made in our city. And that's a testament to the diversity of our economic prowess. And I think it's time that we recognize that and sell that and take advantage of that. It's a very unique situation. Give me the next slide, please. So again, as the Big Four, we're working on a unified economic entity, right? Because we want to recognize not only the amount of goods that are moved through our city, right? But again, the employment that's created here, the employment that all our region benefits from, not just the City of Commerce. And it's substantially more than our neighbors, right? To our north and south, and even Montebello, who's got a fairly large industrial zone, they still have much more residential than us and don't produce the industrial and commercial goods that the City of Commerce produces, nor the employment. In that regard, we believe that us four cities are unique, and we can take advantage of that uniqueness. Next slide, please. Thank you. So this slide kind of just identifies those areas where we're the same, because part of the challenge in this process is our long-term goal is to receive more monies that we're not receiving now, right? So to do that, we really have to lock down how we are unique and how we're different from the other 88 cities in LA County and the 400 and some cities in the state of California. We all share that we have heavy stress on our infrastructure, right? I mean, our streets are heavily utilized, and it's not our residents that are using it, right? It's people coming in and out of the city, and it's businesses coming in and out of the city that don't translate into direct dollars coming back to us. We get penalized for our small population and don't get recognized for the many hundreds of thousands of jobs that we have here, and for the goods that come in and out of our city to the entire region, including up and down the state of California and into Arizona and other areas. We are an economic hub, and As a group, we represent a substantially large economic hub. One thing we all share is we can all better take advantage of selling what we are, right? To not only state of California companies, but competing with Texas, competing with Florida, competing with all these other small markets that have now told people, really with the facts don't support, that it's much cheaper to operate there, right? So this is one of the goals, and this is as a whole where we are the same, right? Go next slide, please. Next one. That said, we have a two-phase approach. Effectively, what we'll do is part of phase one is do an audit of everything we have in the city, all our properties, city-owned, successor agency-owned, privately owned that have not been marketed or capitalized appropriately by private companies. We can help them, help each other, help me, help you kind of situation. So that our growth, and we want to do that before we actually implement a plan, because we want our growth to be the vision that you have as a city council for this community, the vision that you have, and the goals that you have for our community, right? Because even though us four as a group have a lot of similarities, we also are very different, right? Vernon is very, very focused on heavy industrial, and we have much more retail than the other three cities, right? So I think we all recognize that. We want to work together as a team, but we also want to appreciate how we are different. If you don't know, Vernon makes most of their revenue because they own the utilities in their city by the utilities they provide to a lot of the industrial uses in their city. Which for us, some of these uses aren't necessarily the best for our community. So the second and most immediate approach that we're doing, and we had conversations last week, we were in Sacramento already about this, is sponsoring and carving out legislation that recognizes how we are unique and gives us more equity, right? Because that's the issue here, is that we get penalized for having 12,000 residents, but we get the money for that, but we have 80,000 people here in the daytime that are impacting our streets, our public safety, all these issues that the county and the state of California does not recognize us for. And so that's the goal. We've been talking to several legislators about sponsoring a bill that would recognize, and we made some good advances in that arena. And so now we're really trying to make sure that we can identify our uniqueness. Apologies. Next slide. Part of phase one that will come to you at a future agenda is also working with a statewide lobbying group that works with the legislators to help pass the legislation. Go to the phase two approach, please. Thank you. I'll include this information with the city council so you can take more time to read some of the details, but in the audience is also Ernesto Morales and Renee Nunez, who are with the companies, and they can answer very specific questions tonight. But again, this is the start of a long-term approach where we'll actually host a community meeting to educate our community about what it is we're trying to accomplish. So the phase two essentially is an implementation and marketing strategy specific to us and specific to our region. Essentially having a developer-ready narrative of what we are trying to sell folks as far as what we can deliver. Next slide. Here are some of the deliverables that you'll see and that we will accomplish as part of this process. Again, these are some very specific marketing plans for the City of Commerce, along with some regional marketing approaches that would be particular to us as an organization of 4 cities. Okay, next slide. With that, I can answer any questions. And again, we have representatives from the firms here that can answer much better than I could.
Great, thank you for that presentation, Mr. Hernandez. Does the council have any questions this time? Okay, Councilwoman Rebollo.
No, I just want to say thank you for finally seeing something that we've been discussing for such a long time, especially when I was a representative on the COG. And as I started learning, right, like, why don't we get this? Why don't we get that? And as I learned that it's because of our population. And even at the COG level, right, it was always brought up, like, you know, talk to the legislators. Like, why aren't we changing the formula? The formula, you know, doesn't benefit cities like Commerce. Why aren't we doing this? Why aren't we doing that? And, you know, as the longer I stood in the city council, I understood why the formula was formulated the way it was, right? And it's frustrating because, yeah, like, we don't get what we deserve. And so I'm just happy to see this before us. So congratulations to, you know, to those of you that really got together to, I think it was the city manager and you, Mr. Mayor, that are working on this. And I just want to say thank you because it has been a long time coming for us to see something like this. And this is kind of like the armor that we need to start protecting our city and to get a little bit of, and I'm not going to say what we deserve, but it's what we should have, right? Because, yeah, our city has suffered long enough for the industry, and I get it. They were here before us, so I understand that. But that doesn't mean that we have to continue to just sit idle to the diseases and everything that we endure as a community sitting in an living in an industrial city. So thank you for bringing this before us.
Thank you for those comments, Councilwoman Rebollo. You know, obviously, this is a result of the work of, you know, all of the city council, right? I know we initially looked at what this concept was. It took all of us to buy into it and to really, you know, we'll see how today materializes, but take this leap. And I know you all have done a phenomenal job of advocating for our community, right? Whether it be with our state senators, with our, you know, assemblymen or assembly members. And so I think we came to the realization that we have to do something different, right? Because our voice, as loud as we try to be, it's just not resonating, right? And so by joining forces and creating this coalition, so to speak, I think it amplifies our voice, right? It gives us a bigger seat at the table and hopefully helps us achieve some of the goals that we're trying to reach right here as a community. You know, I know our city manager stepped out. I think he got bored with what I was saying, but you know, I do appreciate him being here today. But if the members from DOD can step up and give us, you know, maybe you can answer some of these questions for me, but Phase 1, we're talking about Phase 1. It's very foundational, right? But could you maybe talk about what the key deliverables will be at the conclusion of Phase 1 or as a result of Phase 1?
Sure. Good evening, and thank you, Mayor and council members, for having us here tonight. And the correct name is Mauricio Nunez. It was mentioned it was Renee. My name is Ernesto Morales. North Star Alliances and Diodate. So to answer your questions regarding Phase 1, it really is about putting together the information, gathering the information, and bringing that information together in a very powerful way. And you mentioned partnering with the other 3 cities and you know, being called the Big Four, and we actually are changing the taglines and to make it more specific, the Big Four are cities built for business. So there's a clearer understanding of that. But really what this Phase 1 does is really drill down into information that is really eye-opening. One of the key facts when we first started on this endeavor, and Mauricio's the true numbers and data guy, the 4 cities together represent about 25% of all industrial and warehouse space, you know, in LA County. That in and of itself is a huge piece of information that can be leveraged, and a story could be told around that. So what's been happening over the last few weeks is a lot of data has been gathered, working with each of the city's economic development team members, different staff members at the city level, to be able to really pull this information together and use it as really powerful ammunition, if you will, to have these conversations at the statewide level with legislators, to make them understand and put it together in the lobbying effort that will be taking place why this is so important, how, to your point that was made earlier, disproportionately these cities, these 4 cities especially, and other cities like them, are heavily impacted and not compensated for that impact, especially when the economic output for these 4 cities and other cities like them is so significant to the region. So to answer your question, and I'll let Mauricio say a few words as well, this is really the information gathering stage, right? It's about research and development. It's about building a foundation with true numbers and true information to be able to have really powerful conversations. And to that point, really position the Big Four, both as a collaborative, as a collective, but as individual cities as well, as something very powerful in its region and throughout the state as well. So to answer the question again, it's about building that foundation built on data and information, and then beginning to tell that story and really uplifting that information to really support the lobbying efforts. Starting with SB1, and to be quite honest with you, there'll be other things that these cities and similar cities face. There's housing issues. There's a number of issues that, again, start to disproportionately impact these cities. This will be the first foray, a calling card, if you will, for these 4 cities to be recognized in a very different way. So I'll let Mauricio, I'm talking a lot, speak a little bit about the numbers as well.
No, sure, yeah. And before I go to the numbers, it's really refreshing to see, and I want to commend city staff leadership for embracing this data-driven approach and city council support for them to go back and really look at the numbers. And you guys know your numbers fairly well. You know your population, you know what your daytime population balloons to. It's about 6 times more than what you have. And more importantly, you feel the impact. Councilmember Rebollo touched on it. You've seen it. It's that you touched on something what we're working on, right? And that's going to be one of our deliverables. The existing formula is based on a per capita distribution of dollars. However, that works out well for 496 of the other cities that receive these dollars. For you 4, you're adversely impacted, and that's not fair. So one of the deliverables is going to be, one, a very objective report of that formula, and how applying different formulas, those dollars could be redistributed, that impact not only to these cities, but to the rest of the cities. And yes, there are going to be cities that benefit from the work the Big Four are doing. There's going to be cities that are a little bit hurt because it's a finite number of dollars. So we want to empower our lobbying counterparts with the right data that best tells the story from a very objective, data-driven manner for them to make their case, and for the Big Four to collectively seek statewide support for this reallocation of dollars in a more equitable way, telling a story of economic impact beyond just people, right? Because often with these endeavors, and especially in this light, we hear a lot about housing, affordable housing. Well, there's 2 sides to this equation, right? And cities like Commerce offer the other side of the equation, where jobs happen, where income is generated, and the more you're able to support those infrastructures, the more kind of jobs you could attract here, right? But taking it back to a deliverable, it's going to be a very objective formula to reallocate dollars, to empower the lobbying arm, to go to state legislatures to make those changes in a very redistributed, equitable manner, and in a collaborative manner to tell the story of the Big Four from a numbers perspective.
And really, it's about changing perspective, right? And really telling the story. You had mentioned, Mayor, about telling the story. This foundation that's being built definitely supports the lobbying effort. And additionally, it will be the underpinning of economic development and real estate development efforts that'll be taken up with the city, and really looking at, from a 360 perspective, what are the opportunities? And then, from a very data-driven perspective, what are the resources that are available? We're already starting to have those conversations with the city team members to really have a true assessment of what's available, what are the different dynamics from a real estate perspective, from an economic development perspective, and then go out to the marketplace and tell that story, right? You can have the greatest story, but if no one hears the story, it's a great story. So we're working in tandem, we're working in partnership. You have the numbers guys, you have the data guys, the experts in real estate, and they do work throughout the country. And then you have the storyteller. You have the person that's going to be able to bring that story to not only the region, but beyond, and really position the Big Four as thought leaders and leaders within the regional space and statewide space in being able to tell the story about industrial cities, these cities that are uniquely different, that contribute to the economic development, workforce development in this region and throughout the state, and need to be recognized accordingly. A little snapshot.
For sure. And could you maybe expand a little bit more about the real estate component of this, right? Because I believe you'll be cataloging and taking an inventory of all of our empty lots, right?
A lot of work should be done. I'll let Mauricio.
Sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And we do a lot of this work for the private sector, where we go out and identify sites for companies that want to relocate, typically outside of California. And one thing we've seen done very well from other states like Texas, who are taking that from businesses, they have a catalog of all their real estate, their lots, what's where, what infrastructure could support where. In our practice, we've now been doing that for several other municipalities as well. We've worked with some public agencies in Chicago, Baltimore, some local here, and that's one thing we plan to offer here. We want to deliver, one, a catalog of everything you own, everything that's available, everything that's on the private sector that's also coming up for redevelopment, engage those conversations so it's out there and available, including layer over how your infrastructure is interconnected with those lots. For example, if you have a high power user where you want to know where that high power is available in your area and what's available there, if you might have a somebody that's going to use a lot of water where you want to know where that water availability and sewers there, because they often don't interconnect. And in case you do need to supplement one or two of these utilities, you at least kind of know where the best intersects are. Because what you want is, if name top job creator comes to you, you want to say, okay, what do you need? They're going to have a very defined criteria of the utilities, their other capacity, water, et cetera. You want to say, okay, you could go here, I could bring you water here, I could bring you sewer, I could bring you power for this, or you know your traffic counts, your residential counts within the area, what's your daytime population. You want to have all those different layers over your city to know where to place the right suitors, the right tenants in the right place. Effectively, you want to help their site selection people do their job, because as somebody who's been on the private sector doing that work, it's very difficult and there's a lot of layers to go through. And when you find a municipality that has that information, it just makes your job a lot easier. And it keeps bringing people back to that one place.
Great. Thank you. And thank you for highlighting also the other municipalities that you've worked with as well, because I think that's important, right? Because private sector and public sector, different, right? So
absolutely.
It's good that you're bringing forth that experience as well for some pretty big cities here in the country. I think my last question is really just for staff. Just for clarity, this coalition, right? It doesn't create a new legal entity or decision-making body, correct?
Correct. They'll be established. We establish guidelines. If necessary, the goal is to establish protocols that will come before the city council.
Okay, great. Thank you. And we caught that. Okay, those are my questions. Again, I'll ask my colleagues if they have any other questions or comments. No? Okay. Thank you both. And at this time, I'll go ahead and entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, so we have a motion to approve per staff's recommendation from Councilwoman Rebollo and a second from Councilwoman Argumedo. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion passes. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, so now we'll go ahead and move on to item number 12, which is the Streetlight Master Plan adoption. And Mr. City Manager, who will be presenting on that today?
Shahid Abbas will present. This is a receive and file document, but you can go through a presentation.
Thank you, City Manager, and good evening, Mayor and the Council. My name is Shahid Abbas, Director of Public Works. Tonight, staff will present to the Council the city's recently completed street lighting master plan. Proper street lighting is crucial for enhancing public safety by reducing traffic collisions and deterring crime, improving pedestrian and driver visibility, encouraging community engagement and economic activity, and providing a sense of security and well-being in public spaces at night, thus fostering more vibrant and livable neighborhoods. Driving at night poses a significant risk, especially driving in our state, is found to be 12 times deadlier than daytime and more dangerous than any other state. According to the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, California leads the nation in nighttime driving fatalities. Nearly half of the fatal crashes occur at night. Pedestrian fatalities and serious injuries are even higher than this. With this backdrop, the council approved the development of the city streetlight master plan. The plan completed a comprehensive review and analysis of the city's existing street lighting system and developed short-term and long-term plans to upgrade the street lighting system to meet the current roadway lighting standards over a period of time. The cost for these upgrades is projected to be $4 million. The city retained the services of Transportation and Engineering Solutions, an engineering firm specializing in street lighting, for the development of the city street lighting master plan. And today I have with me Natalian Biora, President and Project Manager from Transportation and Energy Solution, to make a brief presentation to the council on a recently completed street lighting master plan. With that.
Thank you, Director Abbas, and welcome, Mr. Bihura.
Good evening, Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, and council members. Thank you, Mr. Abbas, for the opportunity to present for you the project we recently completed. It was a very exciting project for us because it was new to for many cities. This is a kind of first because of the combination of things we achieved. I wanted to give you a little background on we are a traffic and transportation engineering firm as well as we do lighting. In fact, one of our clients is the one which was mentioned in the previous presentations, City of Industry. We are on-call traffic engineers for them. So we understand your city's infrastructure and your how it functions with the number of residents you have very well and what your needs are. This project, first of all, let me talk about what the master plan is. It's a, like Mr. Abbas mentioned, a comprehensive review and analysis of the city's roadway street lighting system. And the purpose is to develop a strategic short-term and long-term plans for upgrading and improving the system over time. And what are the goals? To ensure that all roadway lighting meet current standards. And City of Commerce has an established standard for street lighting, which was adopted a few years ago, and while also enhancing the overall aesthetics and safety of the city's lighting infrastructure. Next. How did we complete the plan? Our first approach was to I'm going to, while we do the presentation, I'm going to also add in a few little things, stories that might help you understand. When we received the request for proposal, RFP, we made a few modifications, few little adjustments and proposals to change the way it was originally intended, which actually ended up giving you a lot more that was originally planned for the project, and I will touch on those. So, and one of these is the first item that we decided to create a lighting inventory and management software to track and maintain these assets. We figured that would be not only useful for this project, or for long-term management of your street lighting system. So to do that, we created a digital map within the software to locate these assets. When I say assets, these are street lights, both what we call safety lights and street lights. And I'll explain the difference a little later. And then we conducted a detailed inventory of all the street lighting along city streets and alleys, which we did by going to every light in the city, by sending technicians there. And they took pictures, took details on the street lights, and they created a database of lighting infrastructure by identifying and mapping these assets in the field and recording their conditions. And they did it on the app we developed. They did it on the cell phone, so they could record all the data in the field. And then we did, after we got this data, we performed engineering analysis of existing conditions against the city standards we had just established, and identified the areas that do not meet these standards. We determined the infrastructure or fixture upgrades that were necessary to bring the non-conforming areas of the sections up to city standards. So that was one of the steps we took to determine what upgrades are needed. And then once we did that, we prepared a cost estimate associated with these upgrades. And we also sought SC, Southern California Edison input. And I will also touch on that a little more. We prepared a list of short-term, approximately within 1 year, and long-term within approximately 5 years improvements, and we associated a budget with it. We prepared all of this in a final report with recommendations for future lighting, and we presented to the city. So that was pretty much the tasks of the master plan. Now, I'm going to touch on what's in the city right now. The city, as you know, about 6.5 square miles and has about 77.7 miles of centerline roadway and a total of 3,094 streetlights. The issue was when the city was originally designed and built, streetlights were all owned by Southern California Edison. And over time, as the city did specific projects, developments, the city added its own lights. And so they were a little different in nature than the Edison lights. So because of the way the city was developed, you have out of those 3,094 streetlights, 2,407 are owned by SC, which is about 78% of our lights are owned by Southern California Edison, and only 549 are owned by the city, and there are about 138 along the boundaries that are owned by other agencies or at freeway ramps. There's a mix of various types of poles for these streetlights. You have wood, you have concrete, steel, etc. And there are different lighting technologies, light emitting diode, and an old technology which is called high pressure sodium vapor, also called high intensity discharge lighting. And in the adjoining agencies that are mentioned in the bullet 2 is the Caltrans, Los Angeles County, cities of Montebello, Bell, and Bell Gardens. We know these areas very well. We are also on-call engineers for the County of Los Angeles, so we're very familiar with their infrastructure. This is just some breakdown on the fixture types and pole types that we have. If you will note, I'm not going to go over the details, but if you will note at the top, the fixture type that there was in the beginning, the RFP was focused on converting to LEDs, which is the modern lighting technology, and it saves you a lot of money. In fact, we did the citywide conversion for City of Industry before your project. But we didn't take that effort, and that will answer why. Most of your, the Edison lights have already been converted to LEDs. There are very few left. And the city didn't know because it didn't have database. They didn't know how many were already converted, and we found out through that there's about a 78 to be still 76 still to be converted. So that was not a large number enough to do an analysis and look for payback, that sort of thing. So these will be converted as part of when we do the project. And there are a smattering of the adjacent agencies. And then you can see the type of poles that are there. The SC poles on the last row at the bottom, you will see there's majority are wood poles. That's what SC is always used. And you will see, because I mentioned how the city went about adding their own streetlights for related to projects, you will see majority of those are decorative poles because they went in part of developments and projects. And there's some that are called safety lights. And again, I will bring back to what that is. Let's go to the next slide. These are just some of the just pictures of what wood poles look like. I mean, you're familiar with that. You have overhead cables carrying electricity. Then you have the concrete poles where the cables have already been ungrounded. They look a lot cleaner. And then you have the decorative poles the city uses. Next slide. And then you have some very leftover steel poles and an odd-looking frame pole. And then on the top, on the right, you will see the HPSV, high-pressure sodium or high-intensity discharge fixtures that are left over from old technology, and then the bottom, the LED fixtures that you use. Next. And now this is what a safety light is. Simply a light that is installed on top of a traffic signal. The reason we call them safety lights because they operate a little different than roadway lighting. Their lighting requirements are higher, and they're only at intersections. They are designed to not only light the road, but also make sure that that people can observe pedestrians as they cross intersections. That's why they're called safety lights, and they have different lighting requirements there, more than standard lighting between intersections. Next. We developed how was the database we built? It was the phone app that we developed that helped technicians go to the field, collect data, and data like pole height, type, fixture, mast arm length, latitude, longitude, etc. You can record it right there. And the data was then made available to a web browser-based application. They could dump the data there, and the app provided editable information in both spreadsheet and list and map-based format. And we'll go over the app that we developed a little bit after this, but it allowed you to add any new lights that you will add to your infrastructure in the future. That is the data currently stored in a city-owned server, and the city personnel will have different levels of access depending on who has it, and you don't want somebody working at the counter to have editable access because you want people actually doing the design to have that, so that'll be followed. Next. So this is a snapshot of just the database and software we created. On the left side, you will see the Streetlight Manager showing the map that we developed that populates that with all different streetlights, and the different lights mean different things. The blue ones are Southern California Edison, red ones are city, the green ones are others. And then on the right side, this is just one data piece that shows all the details of the lights that we capture in the database. It even has photographs of what the lights look like. And with that, I will have Kevin give us a little demonstration of how the app looks. And so this is inside the app we developed. You can see that all the lights in the city are on this map, and you can zoom in and can select any particular location you're looking at. If you click that, it pulls out the data for that particular light. And that's the level of detail you have. And you can edit it if you, for example, switch out a particular light or a pole, you can edit that and include that information in there. Let's go to the next, on the left side, further down, So this is the data in a different format. If you can see on the top, there are rows of information at the top, the different variables. Depending on what you're looking for, you can have the data available to you in that format. You can add or edit the data that you want to look at on the right side. If you want a different set of data, you'll pull that up. Next one. Now, this is an important part that I was talking about that was not in the RFP that we added. What happened was, in the RFP, we were told, hey, here's we have some plans for the city that shows your infrastructure. There are some missing areas you don't have plans for. You have to build those on your own. And we've found that the city had actual plans for very few areas for the whole city. And they were old. Some they didn't have any electronic versions, which is what you need nowadays to create design plans for anything, for any engineering project. So we told the city, hey, how about we fly a drone and get the infrastructure for the whole city in electronic format, and we will create plans for the whole city. And even after this project, you will have those plans available for any engineering project you do, which shows the roadway curves and certain, it won't show everything, but it will capture a lot of the data from the street, and it will be useful beyond this project. So that's what we did, that's what it shows. If you can go click on one of these, now each sheet actually shows, if you click on them, you will see the actual plan we developed. That's what you have. Every area of the city has been mapped with the curb and other information's lights available in that. And then you can add other things depending on what kind of plans you're developing. So that database is available within the software. Let's go to the next one. Yeah, and so this is another, this is an index that shows what street you have plans for. So if you want to particularly look at a specific street, you can see how many sheets that carry information for that street. You can also search on the database and find out anything you need. Next one. This one is just for editing. We're not going to do anything, but if you want to add or edit to the database, you can do that. And then in the end, the last one is is a definition of all the variables we talked about, if you want to know what they are. So this is pretty much a snapshot of the software that we developed. We think that's going to be very useful to you. Okay, next slide, let's go. So how was the analysis done? We talked about developing data gathering and storing. So what did we do for the analysis? How did we know which areas are deficient and what to do about it? So what we call a photometric analysis, that's what we conducted using a method that's patterned after ISRP 822, which is basically name of a standard that's used by the Illuminating Engineering Society. They have a standard for lighting. We use that. And we use two different methods for analysis, one for safety lighting, which is intersection, and one for the roadway. And then using that, we use the software to model the light patterns. Again, in the RFP, it was anticipated we would go to these intersections and measure the lighting standards, how they're doing. And we didn't do it that way because measuring light in the field is very difficult when you have cars coming, headlights interfere with your measurements, et cetera. So we did it all by modeling. So once we put in all the lights that you have there, these are very accurate software that model your lighting condition at these intersections. And so that told us where your deficiencies are when we compared that with your standards. How we did it is we put these on a plan, and any area that were deficient, we put that in red, so it showed up visually when there are deficiency. And then based on this deficiency, we added any improvements. Next slide. This is what I was talking about. This shows an intersection, and you can see that the black numbers showing that they're compliant. And it makes intuitive sense, as you can see those the rectangular icons. They are basically your streetlight poles. And they're on the north side of Washington Boulevard, and you can see that side is well within your established standards, but the red numbers show they don't meet standards, they're too dark. And that's just visually, and when we made the improvements, we put lights on the other side, and we knew exactly where to put them, and so now once we ran it the second time, all this should look black. In other words, we met your standards. So it's visually intuitive for people who are not into lighting. Next. So what are the general recommendations? To keep costs reasonable, the improvements that we recommend. I mean, ideally, you would want to put in nice new poles, concrete poles or decorative poles everywhere. That's prohibitively expensive. Your main objective is to get proper lighting. So after discussion with the city, we came to a conclusion the best way to do it, because SC owns most of the poles in the city and most of the infrastructure, we wanted to add to SC's infrastructure where it was very close. For example, if it's close to a SC pole where we can easily get electricity from, that's where we put the pole. If there's a pole that carries overhead cable but didn't have a mast arm with a light on it, fixture on it, we added that if it's needed. So by making those kind of improvements, we got a lot of improvements. And then there were places where I needed to put a new pole. And if they're adjacent to an SC pole, we recommended that. If there were no SC poles nearby, we recommended the city add their own pole and add conduit and electricity service, et cetera, there. And that's a little more expensive. So again, the recommendations were short-term that we could do within a year and long-term within 5 years. And the short-term recommendations were just fixture replacement. Say this fixture is too dim, not adequate, upgrade it, or add a new mast arm and add a fixture. You don't need a new pole. That all can be done within a year. If the recommendations included adding new poles or new conduits or power source, those were long-term and you needed to establish a budget and do that. So that's where within the next 5 years. Next. So just a summary, 742 locations total were identified as needing improvements. So 60 of those were city-owned and 682 are SCE. And we worked closely with SCE to work this out, discuss with them, and came to an agreement that these numbers are correct. These included a number of alleyways currently unlit. That was one of the concerns that your city had. And we included a number of short-term improvements estimated about 660,000. Cities is about 244 and SCE about 400,000. Long-term improvements estimated at 3.32 million, City is about 991K and SC about 2.33 million. So total estimate, as Mr. Abbas mentioned, is 4 million, based on their 2025 costs. Next. So what are the ongoing recommendations? Your software and database is only as good as it's maintained. So maintain and monitor the updated street lighting database via the Streetlight Manager that we provided. Keep it updated. And we also I recommend doing and implement annual software maintenance. Softwares have glitches, sometimes they don't work, and sometimes people say, oh, we're not going to use it, and then all this investment and time is wasted. So with a little minimal maintenance, you can maintain it. Use the city's current lighting standard for all future upgrades. Nobody should be given anything else depending on use their current standards. And the most important thing is lighting standards, like everything else, they change. Every few years they're updated. So that means you have to update that as well, along with this software. Next. We'll have some questions and answers. I wanted to mention a couple of things that we understand the dilemmas in making these decisions. They're not easy. In fact, in my personal life, I sit on that side of the aisle like you do. So try to make those decisions easier. Try to stay out of the weeds for your presentation. So, but you have any technical questions, we'll be happy to answer them. But I also wanted to thank Kevin Torres, who's been invaluable in our developing our database and storing it, and also Mohammed Mustakami, I believe he's a contract engineer for the city. He's been also extremely helpful. And also thank you to Mr. Abbas for this. Any questions you have on this?
Thank you for the presentation, Mr. Berhura. Does the council have any questions at this time or any comments?
Just a quick follow-up. Thank you. Great presentation. A lot of information there. I noticed the breakdown of the ownership or whoever owns the poles. In terms of, you met with Southern California and Edison, you've indicated, and they've agreed to the results of your study. And so do they agree to the fact that they need to meet the new requirements for each of these lights that are cited on here?
They understand. The issue is obviously paying for them. They are not going to upgrade something, so that's something probably Mr. Abbas can speak to, how you come into an agreement. I think there's a standard agreement on what you pay for each of these type of improvement. And so based on your standard agreement, you will have to, compensate them for these improvements, and that's what the estimate basically is based on, what SE charges. So you have to go through a process of that kind.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Thank you for that question, Councilman. Councilwoman?
Just really quick, so I want to make sure that I understood this correctly. Someone is overseeing this study, or is it like an app? Did I understand this correctly? Like, is someone's overseeing, will be seeing, or is over, I know that there was an inventory, yes? Now, is someone overseeing like the polls?
The database?
The database?
The database has been created and is on the city's server. So you guys, so you have complete control of it.
So if there is a poll, I guess my question should be rerouted. Like, how often is it updated? I'm asking only because there is polls that were reported on Washington that were out for months and they were not fixed. So if that were to occur again, like, are we going to be notified immediately so that the fix can be done? And I don't have to be the one like, hey, why aren't we fixing these lights? There's been street lights within the neighborhood that have been out for such a long time, right? And it's so dark. And then the community thinks like, we're not doing anything about it, right? But it's like, we're reporting it. But then there's this like chain of command. And then there's well, it's not a city poll, it's an SCE poll, and they're not responding. So help me understand, is this how that's gonna cut through that tape?
Okay. The communication part and improvement part is not part of this project, but I can tell you how it works. Is you have a city's maintenance contractor who maintains your street lights and...
No, I understand that, but I thought the communication portion was part of this, but it's not, so.
No, the
Okay.
communication portion, but it will be, once somebody reports it, it should be recorded in there.
In there.
And then
Got it.
saying this is down, and then somebody, once they upgrade it, it should be upgraded, okay, it's been replaced by such and such.
Understood.
So,
Thank you so much. I
course.
appreciate it.
Okay, thank you for your question, Councilwoman. Any other questions, comments? Just piggybacking off of what she just asked, right? And maybe I think this is possibly more of a question for Director Abbas, right? But we've obviously spent all of this time and these resources to put together this database, which could potentially be very valuable, right? It is valuable, right? But as Mr. Bahura mentioned, right, the database is only as good as how current it is and how it's maintained. So do we have a process in place to make sure that we keep this database up to date? And could you talk about that just a little bit?
Thank you, Mayor, for the question. Yes, we do have a process in place. We just recently uploaded all the data into our server. We host it here. We have a staff trained here, and we need to continue to keep the staff training. So if there's a staff shift over, we have a backup there. So this is a continuously ongoing effort. A dedicated staff will be assigned who will be responsible to operate the data, and then we will train other staff also who can fill in the spaces in between. I fully understand the data is as useful, as if we can only maintain it. If we don't maintain it, it will be of no use to us.
Yep. Okay. Thank you for that. Appreciate it. Mr. Bahura, thank you for the presentation. I think it's great. Lighting is so important, right? It's critical to public safety, right? And I think for me, there's some areas in the city that I felt aren't as well lit as I feel they should, right? Areas where one side of the street has street lights and the other side does not. I think, Astor may have a situation like that, right? So I felt like this plan was important just to kind of identify not only the improvements that we need to make short term, right? But where are the opportunities for the long term, right? Just to make sure that we continue to ensure the safety of our people here. So Mr. Bahura, thank you so much for the presentation. Director Abbas, thank you as well. This is a receive and file, so if no further questions, we'll move on to the next item. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Have a good evening.
Okay, and so now we'll go ahead and move on to item number 13, which is the residential parking T-Markings pilot program. And who will be presenting on that today?
Mr. Abbas will also present on that, sir. Thank you.
Hello, Director Abbas.
Thank you, Mayor. And once again, good evening, Mayor and the Council. Again, this is Shahid Abbas, Director of Public Works. In August last year, staff presented the proposed T-marking programs to the Council. Following the presentation to the Council directed staff to develop a pilot program to test the feasibility of T-markings. To establish baseline conditions and evaluate potential pilot outcomes, staff is now recommending trick streets from Can we go to first slide, please? Trick streets from McDonald Avenue on the east to Mariana Avenue on the west in the Bristow Park neighborhood for a total stretch of 0.4 miles for this pilot program. Yes. Prior to installation and the start of the pilot, staff will mail notices and host a community meeting to gather feedback from residents. If substantial opposition is received, staff will return the item to the Council for further direction. The pilot program will last for 1 year and allow the city to observe performance and determine whether T-marking should be implemented elsewhere. Upon successful outcome of the pilot program, staff will develop policy guidelines for implementation of parking T-markings on the city streets. Next, please. The Public Works staff will install all T-markings in-house using equipment that has already been purchased. We spent about $5,000 to purchase the equipment. And since then, the staff has been trained to use that equipment. Therefore, no additional costs are anticipated for this pilot program. Previously, it was estimated that to install the T-markings, it will cost approximately $3,500 per block, and for the trick street, that would have come to $14,000 project. So this is a visual depiction, aerial map of the Trick Street. It starts from Mariana on the west and then continues up to Sydney, then under the freeway, and then goes, next slide please, and goes up to McDonald Street. So this street has an occupancy about 70 to 75% parking, and we think it's wide enough for us to install the T marking. And by installing the T marking, we are not going to lose any additional parking on this street. So we consider this is a good location to start the pilot program. With that, I'll conclude my presentation, and if council have any question, I'll be happy to answer those, please.
Thank you for your presentation, Director Abbas. Does the council have any questions or comments? Councilwoman Arboyo?
I just want to make, excuse me, I just want to make sure that we are collaboratively working with public safety, right? Because now that we're going to have T markings, the goal is, right, for the community to be parking in a way where they're not saving their parking for XYZ, right? That's what we were identifying. That was the problem. We're putting their trash cans there. So I think that with that, right, we have to make sure that our CSOs are monitoring so that if, right, someone's not parking within the T marks, now they're going to start getting cited. And I think that let's not miss that component, because then, you know, then this is futile. If we're only going to do the T markings, but then we're not going to implement anything. So I just want to make sure that we don't forget that component. Thank you.
So
Thank you for the comment.
part of the nature of a pilot program would be heavy enforcement, right? Because otherwise, why are we doing this, right? And I think that'll be the feedback you're going to hear back on whether or not it's successful and whether or not you as an organization want to have that level of enforcement, right? So, but at 100%, that's going to be, and then when these go up, we'll advise residents in advance and warn them about, you know, the enforcement efforts by the city.
Okay. And then do we have other streets, or is this this is for now the only?
This is the only
area?
proposed area as part of the staff report.
Okay. But we are looking at different neighborhoods and
I mean, you can certainly recommend different areas of the city for us to explore.
absolutely. I mean, there's issues on within the Bristol Park community. We had a neighborhood, not this recent neighborhood watch meeting, but we met. I want to say, Mayor, is it McDonald or McBride?
So the last meeting was on McBride, but I think you're talking about Dunham?
Dunham, but what's that street that crosses Dunham? McBride, right? That's the one that's behind McDonald? Is that McBride?
Yes.
So McBride and then Astor has been having, I mean, I think the whole city has parking issues, but I just want to make sure that, you know, if we can pilot maybe one in each area of the community and then expand from there. Let's pick an area like in the Bandini community and the veterans community. I believe Pacific, on Pacific, we've had a lot of, you know, complaints about the parking. So if we can identify at least a pilot program for each little pocket, I think that, I don't know how you guys feel about that, or if one pilot program, then we see how it's successful and then we implement it. But I don't know, because I feel like not all parking situations are going to be the same in every pocket, or they may be. I know we all have issues. So for me, I would like to see a pilot program in each different neighborhood, and then we compare to see, you know, if it's working in one area, not in the other. I don't know. Those are my comments. Thank you.
Councilman, thank you. And Councilman, I know you have some comments. Just from my perspective, just really quickly, I think being kind of like starting slow, being a little methodical, implementing it here, getting some lessons learned. Let's make sure that the community education component is also effective, right? Because not everybody's familiar with T-Marks, so I think the city has to do its job to make sure that the community is informed, maybe graphics to show how you should park and how that situation is going to change. I think we start with one area first. I totally hear you, and we don't necessarily need to wait for an entire year before stepping into another location, but I think after we go through the initial implementation, there's going to be a lot of things that we learn, right? Maybe things that didn't occur to us or things that we realized we maybe could do a little bit better, right? Or differently. And so I think maybe containing it small right now and then expanding in the future could be in our best interest. So but those are just my comments. Councilman Argumedo, you have some questions?
Yeah, thank you for your response related to the comments that were just raised. I concur with you. We need to take this step at a time because we don't know exactly how this is going to be received and the feedback we're going to get. But let's start with that, and then let's look at what you're discussing. Because you're right, we are having this problem throughout the entire city, but let's start with something because we don't know what kind of feedback it's going to generate. And I suspect that it could be there could be a double-edged sword here. So let's see what we get. And then you're right about the educational component, making sure people are aware of what we're trying to do and how we're going about doing that. One of the comments that I had was while we're already moving forward and there's a cost associated, just keep in mind that, we're probably going to have to maintain. So I want to know what the maintenance and upkeep of this is. There's an expense component to this. So I just want to know because once we go, let's say we move to start expanding, then that also amplifies.
Yes,
also, we need to make sure the markings are being maintained. You got to go out there on a regular basis, not a regular basis, but periodically to repaint to make sure they're visible. And as you know, just with general striping and whatnot, with the time and wear and tear, they start to disappear and then your lines are gone. So we need to just keep that in mind because that could be an additional factor of additional upkeep that we need to keep in mind. So just wanted to point that out.
Great feedback, and I think that is important, right? They need to be clear, so thank you for your comments there, Council Member. Any other comments or questions from my colleagues here? Okay, so just to be clear, we're talking about 3 streets, right? We're talking about Triggs from McDonald to Mariana, right? We're talking about Sydney Drive from Noakes to Triggs, right? And then we're also talking about Duncan Avenue from Noakes past Triggs through the cul-de-sac. Does that sound right?
So staff is only recommending on Triggs, but if that's what the council wants to do, we can add to that.
So I think, and sorry, because I was looking at the maps, so I think we do contain it to Bristow Park right now, but I think what makes sense so that we don't cause like a situation where we're pushing issues down, right? I think we do it on Triggs from McDonald to Mariana, right?
Right.
But we also implement on Sydney Drive from Noakes to Triggs, which should cover that entire swath, right? Right? And then on Duncan Avenue, from Noakes through Triggs up until the end of the cul-de-sac that is north of Triggs.
Okay. So we'll have a mark as that's the areas, and then we'll let the council know where they're going to be implemented, along with provide City Council the same public information that we're going to provide and the folks impacted by this.
Great, yeah, I'd like to see that information before it goes out, just to make sure. And then, I know you've talked about it already, Mr. City Manager, but just the importance of code enforcement, right? As you mentioned, right, if we're not doing proper code enforcement, then why are we going through this initiative? But, one of the things I've always talked about is in that area, we do have a lot of oversized vehicles. And so while the T-marks may address length, it doesn't necessarily address height. And I know this is a comment that we've heard like at even the most recent neighborhood watch meeting. I just want to make sure that our CSOs, our public safety department, is being diligent in their enforcement of those areas as well, right, for oversized vehicles.
We will certainly coordinate that.
Great.
Just for clarification, Mayor, if I may, so are we talking about implementing this on a temporary basis, but I thought we were not necessarily going to be doing enforcement? Are we saying that people need to properly utilize them?
Yes.
Beginning immediately then?
Yeah, so there will be a community education component, but it will be enforced.
Okay. All right. I just, I was under the impression that we were going to put it out and get feedback before we start actually implementing. But okay, if you want to move in that direction, okay.
So we'll provide you a timeline of what that looks like, the public information component, which will include up until the actual markings are in place before enforcement. So in other situations like this, what we'll do is we'll give warnings for a period of time so that those folks know that that's a violation, they'll be ticketed in the future.
And I think that's wise, right? Because this is a new experience for everyone. I think starting off with a warning, making sure that's cataloged, right? So that, you know, after a warning, then
That sounds better.
it's a thing. So, all right, yeah. It's a good point. Okay, so thank you for your presentation, Director Abbas. At this time, I'll entertain a motion.
And just for clarity purposes, sorry, Mr. Mayor, may I?
Sure.
Are we then saying we're only going to do Triggs, or is the recommendation going to be the 3 streets that you mentioned?
I think we should do the 3 streets that I mentioned, and I say that because they're all in close proximity to Triggs, right? And so I just want to make sure that we're not pushing the issues out, right? But those
Okay.
are the areas that I think we should start with.
So if I may make a recommendation, Councilmember Arboyo, if individual council members want to discuss with me what other areas to explore for implementation at some point during this program, let me know so we can already vet the sizing and all those kinds of things. Okay?
Okay, I would make the motion to approve the T-marking pilot program with the inclusion of the 2 different streets that were mentioned. I can support that as long as we're doing at least 3 streets. And with the caveat that we do not wait a year to implement the pilot program in another pocket of the community. Yeah, that's my recommendation, or my motion. Is that an appropriate motion, City Attorney?
I think so. I mean, maybe the caveat, that would be kind of hard to put teeth on the caveat.
Why don't we do this?
Okay, understood. I will remove that component, and I will make it as a form of a comment, but I would move, I'd strike that
I
caveat.
would second that motion, and just for clarification, I believe we're approving the item on the agenda with the additional comments that were made by our mayor, adding 2 additional streets. Yeah, okay, great.
Correct.
I'll second that.
Okay, great. So we have a motion by Councilwoman Rebollo and a second by Councilman Argumedo. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion passes. Okay, thank you for your presentation. And thank you all. I agree, we don't have to wait a year, right? I think maybe, I'll talk to you about
7
that, but I think we can have a checkpoint in 90 days from implementation just to see how things are going.
I think it works out timing-wise, that we can have these conversations, and somewhere along the budget process, we can include other areas.
Agreed, agreed. Okay. All right, so that concludes the items. So now we'll go ahead and move on to city council reports. I'll go ahead and start to my right. Councilmember Altamirano, do you have anything to report?
No, I'd just like to say that I'm glad I'm back. It seems like we were gone such a long time. So I'm happy to be back, happy to see everybody, and excited to create some big things for 2026. So that's all I have to report.
Great, thank you for that, Councilman. Councilwoman Rebollo?
I would like to wish everybody a Happy New Year. It is really nice to be back. I want to thank the library and specifically the Parks and Recreation Department for keeping our kids busy through the winter break. It was nice to see the parks filled with kids, program, day camp, Camp Commerce being used by our kids for that week, the 3rd week that they were off in school, the teen center up and poppin', and just all the fun activities that were happening throughout the winter break. So thank you to staff and to the library. I know the library also does a lot to keep our kids involved at the branches too. I'm happy to see Atlantic Branch, the Atlantic Learning Center open again. And just with that, if we can, I would like a conversation. I don't know if it would be with the mayor or city manager. One thing that I did notice missing during this winter break was the Children's Holiday Fair that was brought to my attention by a community resident. The Children's Holiday Fair, if we can have a conversation about how we, either if it's an action item for us to vote on putting it on the mid-year budget, but definitely have a conversation about bringing that back. I hadn't even thought about it till it was brought up by one of the community members. And that's it. With that, I just wanted to remind you, we can please close and adjourn the meeting in the memory of the matriarch of the Logan family, which is Miss Rebecca Logan, who was the mother of employee Melinda Logan and retiree Laura Logan, and grandmother to employee Sean Diaz. Thank you. That's it. God bless everybody. Have a good night.
Great. Thank you for that comment and those words, Councilmember Argumedo.
Thank you, Mayor. And yeah, just Happy New Year to everybody. Welcome back, and we're glad to be back, and looking forward to 2026. I think we've got a lot of good, interesting projects that I think are really important to our community. That'll be, once we get them going and we make progress with those projects, I think we're going to be in a really good position moving forward, and I'm looking forward to it. So thank you all for all your contributions with regards to each of those projects, because you have all been the ones working. You're in the forefront of finalizing each of these projects. And the ones I'm talking about is, of course, the Citadel, the hotel project over there, the In-N-Out, the Chick-fil-A, and of course the other parts of that, which is the land where the pumpkin patch and the other parts of that, all over that land, there will be 26 acres that are still open. I think those are vital to our community and developing those for the future. And looking forward to a lot of the work that's currently being done there and making progress in 2026 on this. So thank you.
Great. Thank you for your comments, sir, Councilman. Mayor Pro Tem Garcia.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to say that I attended the neighborhood watch over at the Bristol Park area. I want to thank all the residents for coming out and voicing your concerns. We had our staff write down your concerns and your issues, and we want to make sure the appropriate departments look into it so we can resolve some of the issues that are out there. I also attended the Education and Library Commission's meeting. I heard a lot of exciting ideas that the commissioners brought up. I also understand that there will be several great programs and special events, so we're looking forward to that. Keep up the good work. I would like to thank the Social Services Department for your hard work in securing companies' donations for the holiday cheer sponsorship. Your efforts were specifically recognized and commended by one of the commissioners during last night's meeting. Great job on this successful initiative for our residents. Thank you, Moida. And I want to remind the residents that we have my app, my Commerce app. So any concerns, you guys can go on that app and use it so that you can, graffiti, any issues that you may have, you go through that app and then you can report that. We have a presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. I'd like to wish everybody a Happy New Year. It does feel like it's been a long time since we've been up here on the dais and seen many of you, so great to see you all. Looking forward to a great 2026. I do want to thank city staff for our Christmas and holiday events, right? I don't think that we really acknowledged them in the last meeting, but I do want to thank, Parks and Recreation, of course, and all city staff for the tree lighting ceremony on December 6th, right? That was really well attended. The community really appreciated it, and it was just phenomenal. And the one thing I took away from that is that I need to work on my dance moves. So do that. I also want to thank our staff for Las Posadas on December 22nd, I believe. That was a great event as well, bigger than last year. Great performances by Mariachi Las Catrinas, and the laser tag was great, the petting zoo, and everything else, right? So I do want to thank all of our sponsors, our colleagues, right, for supporting that, and of course, the city for stepping in and making sure that went through and was successful. Like many of my colleagues, I do want to thank Mayor Pro Tem Garcia and Councilmember Argumedo for attending the Neighborhood Watch meeting in the Bristol Park neighborhood on January 8th. I know the other council members unfortunately had some conflicts, which is totally understandable, but this was a meeting that was really well attended, right? And there were some concerns raised related to cybersecurity, parking, speeding, graffiti, vehicle theft, code enforcement issues, and we've talked about a lot of those here today. And so I know that our staff will be following up just to make sure that those concerns are not only heard, but they're also addressed, right? And something is being done about them. I do want to thank my Public Safety Commissioner, Stephanie Munoz, for also attending, our Public Safety and Code Enforcement teams for running the events, as well as Sergeant Barrera and Cortez from the Sheriff's Department. Thank you for attending and fielding some of the questions from our community members, as well as Deputy Cadenas and our probation officer, Joseph McLennan. On January 5th, I visited Sacramento as part of the Contract Cities legislative tour. I had the chance to sit down and speak with State Senator Lena Gonzalez, as well as Assemblymember Mark Gonzalez, and it was good to just sit down with them, just to let them know about things that we have in the pipeline, right? What our priorities here are in the city, our current projects, and what our needs are, right? And I know that the state is running at a deficit right now, so getting monies is not easy to come by, especially with a city that has a low population like ours. But I think that's part of the reason why we wanted to bring the Big Four item in front of everybody today, because there's so much that we do and we're very vital to the economic engine of LA County and California. I think we should be getting our fair share. So, and they heard us and they acknowledged that, and hopefully we'll start to see some movement. But, you know, the work has to go, right? We have to keep on working on it. I think that's it. Thank you all for being here today. As we approach the observance of Martin Luther King Jr. Day, honoring a person who was tragically gunned down, I'm reminded of something that he said, right? And he said, law and order exist for the purpose of establishing justice. And when they fail in this purpose, they become dangerously structured dams that block the flow of social progress. And I think with everything going on today, I think that's very relevant, and, you know, I want us all to think about that a little bit. So with that said, thank you so much. Appreciate you. And we will be adjourning today's meeting in honor of Rebecca Logan, or in memory of Rebecca Logan, commerce legend, matriarch of the Diaz and the Logan family. Meeting adjourned.